Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. If we'd all stand, we'll have Trustee K. Janis lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're going to have to work with me here tonight. I've got a pretty good head cold, but we're going to have the clerk call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Present.
Trustee DeVivo?
Present.
Trustee K. Janis?
Present.
Trustee Nemec? Trustee Sabo?
Present.
Trustee Yukich?
Present.
Mayor Daley?
Present. Okay, are there any amendments to the agenda?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I could please, we have talked very, very briefly in the past about theft insurance.
Yes.
I did get a quote in just the other day. During new business, I'd like to just pass out to the board and just give a 2-minute brief description of how we got this. This has not gone to committee yet, but I think they may come up with some good questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll add that under new business. Are there any other amendments to the agenda? Okay. Let's see here. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of October 23rd, 2012?
I so move.
First by Trustee Sabo,
Second.
second by Trustee Costa. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of January 29th, 2013 committee of the whole meeting?
So moved.
First by Trustee Yukich,
Second.
second by Trustee K. Janis. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the accounts payable for the period of January 24th to February 27th, 2013?
So moved.
First by that was Trustee Costa,
Second.
second by Trustee Yukich. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee K. Janis?
Aye.
Trustee Sabo?
Aye.
Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next portion of this meeting is reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. I'll start out. Snow parking and plowing. With all the snow we've received today, I wanted to remind everybody to remove their vehicles from the streets. The Homer Township Highway Department needs to get out there to salt and clear our roads. Please help them by moving your cars out of the way. When the village receives snowfall of 2 inches or more, vehicles left on the road may be towed or ticketed could be used. For more information, please visit the Village of Homer Glen's website, www.homerglen.org. Under the Northern Will County Water Agency, the next meeting of the Northern Will County Water Agency will be on Monday, March 11th at 11 a.m. at the Village of Lamont. The Village Hall's address is 418 Lamont Street, Lamont, Illinois. A copy of that agenda will be posted on the village's website before the meeting. Under the 159th Street Corridor Study, on Wednesday, March 20th, from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m., the village will host a community workshop on 159th Street Corridor Planning Study. The workshop will take place here in the village boardroom and will be an interactive experience designed to review, discuss, and identify conditions and potentials within the 159th Street commercial corridor. The results and feedback from the workshop, along with other community feedback, will be used by the village board in identifying community priorities and objectives for the corridor. As promised, the village intends to be very transparent about the process. Residents will be able to access information about the corridor study at www.homerglen.org. The village will have an interactive web page for the study on our website this week. Let's see here, reception honoring Trustee Mary Nemec. As many of you know, Trustee Nemec will be leaving office. Please join the board and I on Tuesday, March 26th, as we honor trustee Mary Nemec for her long service to the residents of Homer Glen community. A reception will be held at Village Hall in the boardroom beginning at 6:30 p.m. All are invited to attend and offer thanks to trustee Nemec for her service to the village. Speaking of the person, welcome. Let the record show that trustee Nemec is here. Under achievements, congratulations to Emma Eckerstein for winning first place in the Noonan Elementary Academy Science Fair. Congratulations also goes out to Providence Catholic Cheer Squad for taking first place in the Illinois High School Association's state cheerleading competition. Great job, ladies. Okay, new restaurant business coming to Homer Glen. Trustee K. Janice will be reporting about a new restaurant opening up in Homer Glen on Bell Road. This is great news. The village continues to work every day to bring new restaurants opportunities to the residents of this great town. And that concludes the mayor's report, and we'll start down with trustee Costa.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick update on our fest, which can be June 20th through the 23rd. Our band so far is that we have, Thursday night is going to be Pink Floyd. Friday, 80s Enough and Infinity. Saturday, Fortunate Sons, American English, and K.O. Bossy. Sunday, we do have Hillbilly Rock Stars signed. There's one more band. We just don't have them signed yet, so I'd rather hold off announcing who it is. Also this year, Thursday night will be Fireworks. That's the night that we're planning it. That gives us a little bit of flexibility for bad weather in case we have to push it off to Friday night. Otherwise, all the plans we're right on track. We're looking actually at the footprint of the fest. Some very good recommendations and some ideas came out of the highway department, some of their workers, and Mike DeVivo, and moving the carnival just around a little bit to actually add some more parking at the fest site. This would also, give the residents a much closer parking space, depending on how crowded we are. But I think it's going to be real good. So everything's right on track. We're about ready to go. In next few meetings, hopefully we have everything locked down, and I can give a full report on the whole weekend's activities. Homer Harvest Days, our event is scheduled for September 7th and 8th, I believe. And plans are going well. Right now, this takes a lot more work. There's probably 60 or 70 plus vendors and demonstrators that we contact. To get there, actually, there's probably double that we contact and hope to get 60 to 70 that come out. So it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort by committee, but those plans are going well also. And that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Costa. Trustee Yukich?
I have no report tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Trustee Sabo?
Okay, reporting for the Environment Committee. First item is Earth Day Arbor Day, and the committee is seeking arts and crafts people, not-for-profit organizations, demonstrations, and activities that fit the theme of Earth Day Arbor Day on May 18th. The place is the Conell Farm. See the Homer Glen website to print applications, and last year's photographs are also on display. The committee is encouraging sending applications in early, and sponsors are being sought, and their donations will help with the financial costs of the event. Next item is Earth Hour 2013. It's celebrated worldwide on March 23rd between the hours of 8:30 and 9:30, 1 hour. Turning off non-essential lights during this time is symbolic and an example to show the need to reduce consumption of electricity. There will be a letter that will be sent from the village to schools to encourage their participation of students. The Environment Committee is also encouraging additional members to enlarge the committee. Also, the committee welcomes individuals who would like to help with various projects from time to time. Lighting ordinance. On February 21st, members of the Community and Economic Development Committee and the Environment Committee met to review the Homer Glen lighting ordinance. Those present discussed and reviewed the entire ordinance and recommended changes by the attorney. Further research was assigned and recommendations made. Quite a lot was accomplished at this meeting. Staff member Aaron Bernard and engineer Brian Fisher of Farnsworth Engineering were present. The group will meet again on March 6th from 7 p.m. to 7:30 in this very room. A California resident, something to highlight on our Homer Glen ordinance, a California resident has requested that the Fairfax Council in California regulate outdoor light pollution in their town. After reading an article in the California paper focusing on light pollution's causes, effects, and solutions, increased energy use, and contributing to air pollution, the council will discuss adopting a light pollution ordinance. And the request was made by the resident, and this is the part of the quote of the from the quote of the article: encourage the council to adopt a lighting ordinance similar to the one adopted by the town of Homer Glen, Illinois. So we're just getting so much more famous as we go along. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Sabo. Trustee Kay Janis?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. As you brought up earlier in your report, Mr. Mayor, yes, there is new businesses coming to Homer Glen. Very pleased to say. We have great news on a new restaurant located at 13957 Bell Road. It's the space formerly known as Saxby's Coffee. It's next to the First Community Bank. The business owners have been working diligently with staff for the last couple months on this process. Staff's teamwork with the business has evolved in efforts with Cameron, Janie, Gail, Yelena, Aaron, Joe, and Scott to bring forth this effort. The business had also asked for a Class A liquor license for consideration. Now the next step for this business is the review process and the build-out plans and building permits. So look forward to them coming in. The name of the business is called La Crepe Bistro. I don't speak much French, as you could tell. And my Spanish is not too good, not even the Greek part of it. But also, there's another new business coming in, and that's Sherwin-Williams is opening in Bell Plaza. Everyone's invited to stop by the new location. It's a national retailer. The paint and decorating store has just opened its doors on Bell Road, commercial corridor. Stop in. Let's shop Homer and frequent Homer. About the subcommittee that was initiated through communications with the Environmental Committee and the Economic Development Committee. On the meeting on February 21st, I want to say it was a long meeting. I think we could all agree to that, but it was a productive and positive meeting. A lot of things were on the table. A lot of positive results came out of that. The positive results will mean success and positives for our business and our residents, each homeowner, I believe, with these discussions. We look forward to future discussions with the Economic Development Committee next week on March 6th here in the village office, as Trustee Sable had alluded to. Again, looking forward to another positive meeting with Trustee Sable's committee. That's it for my report.
Thank you, Trustee Kay Janis. Trustee Nemec?
No report tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, how about Trustee DeVivo?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to announce the open house for the revised park and recreation plan tomorrow evening at 6:30 here in this village. There will be a brief PowerPoint presentation, and we invite the public to give us feedback and suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee DeVivo. Does the treasurer have a report?
Yes, Mayor, I have the treasurer's report of cash and investments for January 31st, 2013. It's the 9th month of fiscal 2013. The general fund had cash and investment balances at January 31st totaling $6,798,355.04. Motor fuel tax fund, cash and investment balance $1,632,055.25. The land acquisition fund had a cash and investment balance of $1,240,575.89. The park fund, cash and investment balance at January 31, $792,060.79. And the final fund, the capital project fund, had a balance of $22,740,306.89. We're well on our way to another good year. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Does the clerk have a report?
No report, Mr. Mayor.
How about the village attorney?
No report.
How about any task force chairpersons? How about any public safety officials?
Yes.
How about the village manager?
Thank you, Mayor and Board. I just wanted to offer my thanks to everyone for supporting my attendance this past week at the Illinois City County Management Association Winter Conference in Peoria. We have a very small staff here, and as you on the board know, I'm a big proponent of professional development, which also means I need some myself. And we had a lot of really good sessions at this conference, a couple of which I highlighted today for staff and kind of talked them through, and I'll be sharing some information with the board. We had record attendance. There were several hundred people there from all over the state, municipalities from all over the state, including most of my colleagues from surrounding communities. So it was a good opportunity to network, to get some professional development done. So I just wanted to thank the board. You're very supportive of professional development for the staff, and we all appreciate it very much. Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you, Kim. Next portion of this meeting is public comment. Thank you. Well, here's a new name to the list, John Coy. John, you want to step up and tell us what you think? You're just a familiar face.
I don't know. Well, here we go. Spring is coming around the corner here, and reading articles in the paper, which is my pastime. I was reading this one about the new bike trails that are going to be going in the South Chicago area and suburbs. $4.7 million from the government they're paying some of these contractors. $3.6 million, $1.1 million, and $5.0 million. There's a lot of money being passed out to for bike trails in the area, and I still have a concern, which nothing's ever been done about. It's right over here where this bike trail stops at the intersection, and there's a sign that points across the street. A lot of people and kids that I know from my area, they say, we don't know where to go around them side streets and that. You gotta mark the streets with white lines or something, like every other suburban bike trail. If they have to go down the street, they mark the street. In other words, follow the yellow brick line, the white lines in the road. Another thing is the sidewalks. I haven't really noticed lately, but in the past, there's been new homes and new businesses, not so much the homes, but mainly businesses. 143rd Street, 90% of it does not have sidewalks. That would eliminate bike trails. Whoever builds these stores and businesses, any other community I've ever lived in and done work in, you had to have either a village walk or a main walk. You had to have a sidewalk in front of your house. I don't have a sidewalk in front of my house, and I wished I did. But anyway, I don't know if there is an ordinance that says any new businesses have to put in a 6-foot to 10-foot main walk. I know 159th Street's going to get one. I don't know about 143rd Street. Now, they're working on 143rd Street. Are they going to put a walk in there or a bike trail? Nobody's ever said anything to my knowledge about what's going on there. And that, as silly as it may sound, I even got the blueprints for 143rd Street, 37 pages of it, and it don't tell me if they're going to put a bike path or they're going to put a sidewalk in. I don't know. Businesses or somebody that owns that property that abuts 143rd Street should be responsible for a sidewalk going down 143rd Street. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. The next public comment is from Dennis Gerwin, another familiar face around town.
I got the kind of face you throw hammers at. No criticisms tonight for a change. I'm here to compliment the board ahead of time for passing item number 11 on the agenda for tonight. And that's stop signs at Quail Lane and Partridge Lane, which go into Derby Lane. Those are two dangerous intersections, one a little bit more dangerous than the other, I think. off and on. We tried to get some stop signs, particularly in Quail, for about the past 3 years, and thanks to the efforts of Trustees Casa and Yukich, and I'm sure staff was involved as well. It has finally come to fruition tonight, and I congratulate you ahead of time for passing that ordinance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis. Okay, that concludes public comment for tonight. The next portion of this meeting is legislation and action items. Is there a motion? This would be I-1. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 13-009, an ordinance amending ordinance number 10-018, an ordinance establishing permit, licensing, and other fees, annual fee ordinance for the Village of Homer Glen, Will County, Illinois?
So moved.
First by that was Trustee Yukich.
Second.
Second by Trustee Costa. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Trustee Kay Janis.
Aye.
Trustee Nemec.
Aye.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be I-2. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 13-011, an ordinance amending number 12-035, amending the benefits section of the personal policy statement for the Village of Homer Glen? It is understood that the total number of observed staff holidays would increase from 9 to 10. It is also understood that the total number of floating holidays observed by staff would increase from 2 to 3.
So moved.
First by Trustee DeVivo, second by Trustee Sabo. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Kay Janis.
Aye.
Trustee Nemec.
Aye.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be I-3. Is there a motion to accept and receive Comcast 2012 annual report?
So moved.
First by Trustee Costa,
Second.
second by Trustee Yukich. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, I just wanted to make a quick note. In the future, what we'll do is we'll compare year to year the changes on the complaint section that Comcast gives us. If you remember from last year, we got a year-end report from Comcast that had all zeros, and we raised some issues, and then we ultimately got a revised report about 5 months later, and they even were honest with us in saying that they weren't sure how accurate it actually was. So that's why you don't see a comparison from 2011 to 2012, because we're not sure that the 2011 numbers were valid. But going forward, 12, 13, 14, 15, we'll compare year to year so we can see if things are getting better or worse. I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Nemec.
Aye.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Trustee Kay Janis.
Motion carries. This would be I-4. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 13-008, an ordinance accepting certain public improvements in the Crystal Creek Estates subdivision? It is understood that the village will be accepting all public improvements in the subdivision, including roadways, drainage, sidewalks, and lighting. It should be noted that Marquette Bank will be required to post a letter of credit with the village in the amount of $88,253.08 in accordance with the warranty requirements of the village's subdivision ordinance. However, the 2-year warranty period requirement will be waived to require only a 1-year warranty period.
So moved.
First by Trustee DeVivo,
Second.
second by Trustee Kay Janis. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Trustee Kay Janis.
Aye.
Trustee Nemec.
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be I-5. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 13-002, a resolution authorizing a $300,107.27 reduction in the letter of credit number 2006-1496 for the Hidden Cove subdivision from the current LOC amount of $1,024,705.50. to the new LOC amount of $724,598.23.
So moved.
First by trustee DeVivo,
Second.
second by trustee Kajanis. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Trustee Kajanis.
Aye.
Trustee Nemec.
Aye.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be I-6. Is there a motion to direct the finance director to initiate the proposed year-end general fund transfers in accordance with the standard operating procedure number .02, with 70% of the general fund's excess surplus transferred to the land acquisition fund and 30% of the excess surplus transferred to the park and recreation fund for a total transfer amount not to exceed $1,310,000?
So moved.
First by trustee Yukich.
No, Costa.
Costa. Second by trustee DeVivo. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Trustee Kajanis.
Aye.
Trustee Nemec.
Aye.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Motion carries. This is a long motion, so sit back for a quick second here. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 13-003, a resolution approving certain requirements and variances for the Hunt Club Meadows subdivision? The requirements and/or variances requested by the developer of the Hunt Club Meadows subdivision include the following. Allow the completion of public improvements within the Hunt Club Meadows subdivision by the developer prior to achieving an 85% build-out level in the subdivision. The public improvements include, but are not limited to, the final road surface, stormwater management, and lighting. Final acceptance of the public improvements by the village will require adoption of a separate ordinance accepting the improvements after all the public improvements have passed the final inspection conducted by the village. 2, a variance from the requirements of Section 7.3 of the village's subdivision ordinance, allowing the developer to provide a subdivision warranty secured by a letter of credit in the amount acceptable to the village for a 1-year period instead of a 2-year period ordinarily required pursuant to Section 7.3 of the subdivision ordinance. Number 3, allow the developer to deposit a new letter of credit in the amount acceptable to the village with an automatic renewal feature to replace the existing letter of credit.
Aye,
So
so
moved.
moved.
First by trustee Sabo, I believe that was second by trustee DeVivo. Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor, I do have a question.
Trustee Yukich, go right ahead.
On this one where it says it has to have an automatic renewal, if he is finishing up with the subdivision, is the renewal strictly for an amount to protect for warranty? Or, because it would be lowered down because most of the stuff he is doing is going to be done?
Typically what it is, our LOCs have an auto-renew feature, so if at some point he doesn't complete these improvements and they carry over to the next year, then it will automatically renew for each consecutive year until he completes the improvements.
Right.
And then once it's completed, then there will be a specific time frame, typically 2 years, but in this case, we're recommending a 1-year period.
Okay, so it automatically renews if the work has not been done?
Correct.
Correct. And he can come in, we don't have a limit to how many times he can come in for a letter of credit reduction.
Okay.
So as he completes this stuff out, a lot of communities do. You can only come in once or twice, that type of thing. We don't, so as he completes the improvements, he can come in and keep reducing the letter of credit.
Okay, all right, because I know he has to pay for that, and it's, okay, that's fine.
Trustee Sabo?
What is the advantage to that? We're going from 2 to 1 here.
It's, 2 is the most conservative thing that you can do, okay? And it's actually rare. You've had it in place, I think, forever, probably. So it was a very conservative position. 1 is more normal, and all of the developer, I think we should keep it at 2, but for those developers that want to request 1, then we should bring that before the board for a variance. Because I think once you completely change it by ordinance from 2 to 1, you're probably never going to go back to 2. And it might be someday that you want to go back to a more conservative practice, but everybody that we're talking to now, one of the first things out of their mouth is they need a guarantee period of just a year as opposed to 2. And I think this is both existing developers that have been in the community for years and the new development teams that are coming in to talk to us. A good example is one yesterday from Michigan that is looking at a number of home sites and subdivisions throughout the village. And they really do not want to tie up money for a 2. They're not used to seeing it because it's such a conservative position. So
Okay.
I guess in this economic environment, the reality is 1 year is probably what we're going to have to do
Okay,
if the board
good.
so agrees.
Okay, does that answer your question?
It certainly does.
Okay, any other questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Trustee Kay Janis.
Aye.
Trustee Nemec.
Aye.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Motion carries. This would be I-8. Is there a motion to approve the village's contribution of $7,904.30 for Homer Harvest Days 2012? It is understood that this amount, 7904.30, did not exceed the $10,000 contribution pledged by the village for Homer Harvest Days 2012.
So moved.
I
First-
second.
First by trustee Costa, second by trustee Sabo. Is there any discussion?
One question, Mayor.
Yes.
On page 2, under the financial overview, just for clarification, it says the village end is $7,904, the township is $3,952, and revenues, which I'm assuming is money that we took in, is $6,234, but it says a total cost of $18,091. Is that correct?
Village manager, do you want to answer that?
Let
I
me
just
look
wanna
at it
make
just
sure I'm
for a
reading it
minute,
right.
because I didn't prepare this one, so let me look real quick. Does that make sense to you, John?
Actually, if you look at it from a gross in, gross out standpoint, that it's correct. The 6,200 was money that came in, and the money that went out was 18,000, so the net was, the difference between the two, the village portion was 2/3, which is 7,900, and the township's portion was the 1/3, the 3,900.
Okay, so technically, then the cost of the event was
Net,
11,900 or 850.
the net cost was, that's correct, the sum of the 7 and the 3.
Right, not the 18,000.
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted, because we're approving something, I want to make sure that I'm correct.
Okay. Are there any further questions, discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Kay Janis.
Aye.
Trustee Nemec. Aye. Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Motion carries. The next legislative item is I-9. Is there a motion to grant an extension of the final development plan for Waterfall Place in Homer Glen, Illinois? It is understood that this extension is for an additional 1-year period beginning March 24, 2013, and continuing through and including March 24, 2014.
So moved.
First by trustee Costa.
Second.
Trustee Yukich, sorry about that, guys. Second by trustee Kay Janis. Is there any discussion?
Mayor, one of the developers of this property, Mr. Walsek, is in the audience. I don't know if you had any questions for him or you wanted to get an update from him, but I just wanted to point out that he's here in the audience.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Nemec.
Aye.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Trustee Kay Janis.
Aye.
Motion carries. This would be I-10. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 13-012, an ordinance creating a unified system for address assignment and maintenance?
So moved.
First by trustee Yukich.
Second.
I caught it that time, George. Second by trustee Costa. Is there any discussion?
Just one comment, Mayor, if I could.
Sure.
You know, as we go through this process and coming through safety committee, you know, there's some issues in the community. Actually, one was really brought to light. I want to make sure that we have something in place, and that is, if we do find an address, be it business or resident, that for some reason is going to be changed, Are we going to have a procedure in place for notification? I know in the ordinance it talks about notification to certain entities, but if we sit back and think about it, if my address is going to be changed, it would take me quite a while to make a lot of changes in my house. I mean, you know, what is the grace period going to be with the post office? I mean, all your documents at home would have to be changed, notified all the businesses that you deal with. So will we have something in place before?
Mike, we're probably looking at about a 90-day period.
Okay. Can we come up with, and maybe there's something we can talk about. Right.
Joe's going to do a PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Okay.
didn't know that.
Okay.
I apologize.
Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Sabo? Trustee Yukich?
Aye.
Trustee Costa?
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo?
Aye.
Trustee K. Janice?
Aye.
Trustee Nemeth?
Motion carries. Now, a building official, Baber, will now give the village board a brief PowerPoint presentation about the unified system for address assignment and maintenance.
Is it actually back in August of 2012, first contacted by Will County 911 regarding a problem with an address with an emergency dispatch, they call it, had gone out. The records indicated one address, 14828, and the resident was using 14323. This was about a 6-block difference. In this particular instance, everything went out well, but if it had been a time-critical situation, the address problem could have been a factor between life and death. Since then, we've again been contacted by 911 as well as the United States Postal Office regarding similar address problems. Village staff has also found on almost a weekly basis numerous addressing problems throughout the village of Homer Glen. Currently, the lack of a unified address database and corrective maintenance policy shared with emergency services could potentially be a factor in response time. This particular establishment is the temple over on Vermont Road, an example of a bad address that was assigned back in, I believe, 2003. They are on the east side of the street, and as many of you know, the west side is an even number, so this is an incorrect address at that particular location. Here too is an address situation on 167th Street. You're looking west. If you look, the numbers go from 14428 to 14426. So there again, there's misnumbered addresses on that particular residence at that location. Here too, not that we're going to be changing street names within the community, but for future development and future planning, street situations or street names like this become a little bit confusing when you have Hank Court West, Hank Court East, things with direction, information, the name, they could be confusing in which way direction people are actually going. Prior to the issuance of any new addresses or changes to an existing address, staff will get input from an addressing advisory group. This group will consist of Will County 911, the Homer Fire Protection District, Northwest Homer Fire Protection District, and the United States Postal Service, as well as village staff. All members who have had contact with support the adoption of this ordinance. Assignment of new addresses is also a factor in the need for address assignment ordinance. For example, in the preliminary discussions occurred regarding the new Myers Court project, one of the first questions they asked was for address assignment for the property. This information is needed for the owner to give to the utility service company provider in order to get the planning project started. Recently, the need for park addresses has also been requested from Homer Township directed to the village. There was no official address for this particular park within the village. Currently, through the use of the Harris Municipal Property Software Management Tool we already utilized by staff, a central location for each property address will be maintained by the village. The ability to attach files to specific properties is a beneficial function of the software. It'll give us a history, we'll be able to link it to each specific property for as long as that property is in existence. This particular slide is a property that was demoed last year, but we're just keeping the files for that particular property address for reference in the future. All building permit information, pictures, violations, and new alarm warning notices that were recently adopted, and other pertinent historical information to be attached to each property. Working with other agencies like the tax assessor, 911, and the Will County Recorder's Office, we will be able to maintain updated and current owner information within the system. I'm excited about the potential uses of the property manager software, and this address and maintenance ordinance will be an important part needed in development and use of the system. I welcome any questions.
Thank you, Joe. Does anybody have any questions for Joe? Trustee Sabo?
I do have a question. I don't know that staff reviews the names of streets in a new subdivision that a developer selects, but in the case of one, there was the east and the one was east, one was west. This will then compel staff to review street names so that we don't have confusion then. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right. I think going forward, when we have the good fortune of developing some new street names and new subdivisions, I think we'll pay particular attention to that because those are particular challenges that the public safety group faces. What you typically would see today in a situation is you would see two different names for streets, so there wouldn't be any confusion.
Okay, are there any further questions, Trustee Costa?
And just again to reiterate what my original question was, as long as we have something in place that's going to, give time to the residents of the business to get everything in order. I remember when we changed zip codes and we incorporated, I think I had to go to the post office 3 times because the mail that was sent to me, the 60491 was not recognized. It was funny that all 3 of them were from the state of Illinois. They were vehicle tags for my car and things of that nature. So it's going to be confusing to our residents and businesses, but it's something we have to do.
That's really one of the good things is communication I've had with 911 and the post office too. They're really supportive of this, and we've already discussed the documentation that they need when an address gets assigned or something were to change. And through their new technology and things like that, they're able to make that change right away. It's actually out of a central database they have locally in Bedford Park that all is done.
Great, thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions or discussion for Trustee DeVivo?
Just a comment. I think with GIS, it's helped a little bit, but I know in my situation too, we have Drive, and then right across Lamont Road, it's Parkway. And there's constant questions about, well, which way do I go, so GIS has helped that, but those are common
We're
problems.
we're not reinventing anything here. We're basically using the same grid pattern and street program that Will County uses. So, there's no big deal.
Great. Any other discussion, questions for Joe? Thank you, Joe.
Makes sense.
All right, then we'd be moving on to I-11. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 13-010, an ordinance authorizing the placement of 2 traffic control devices, stop signs, one at the southwest corner of the intersection of Quail Lane and Derby Lane, and one at the northeast corner of the intersection of Partridge Lane and Derby Lane?
So moved.
First by Trustee Costa,
Second.
second by Trustee Yukich. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Aye.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Trustee Kajanis.
Aye.
Trustee Nemec.
Aye.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Motion carries. I-12. Is there a motion to approve an agreement with Vintage Tech for the electronic drop-off portion of the village's spring 2013 paper shredding and recycling event, electronic drop-off event?
I so move.
First by Trustee Sabo,
Second.
second by that was Trustee Yukich. Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Costa.
Excuse me. Aye.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Trustee Kajanis.
Aye.
Trustee Nemec.
Aye.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mayor,
Aye.
if you'll just allow me real quick, on the
Good.
recycling event, if anyone is interested in volunteering for that, we are putting together a list of volunteers. We have a number of high school students who are going to be volunteering, ROTC members, and Boy Scouts also. But we're expecting a very, very large participation. The flyer that you have in front of you is going to be in the newspaper this week, and there'll be additional public informational items that'll be going out. So anybody who would like to help that day, even for an hour or whatnot, just talk to Heather if you could, and she'll get you on the list. Thank you.
Thank you. Does this qualify for
It does.
high school hours?
It does, and they tell us that we're perfect timing because apparently they have to get everything in by the end of April. So we're going to catch some people right at the end who need to get a few extra hours, I guess.
And do you have it up on the website yet?
It is.
Good. Okay, perfect. Okay, are there any other discussions, questions? Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Or did we already do that?
We already did,
All right, we
yes.
already did that one. All right, then that was just comment. We'll move on to I-13. Is there a motion to approve a proclamation in support of Earth Hour 2013?
I so move.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. it is.
First by trustee Sabo,
Second.
second by that was trustee Costa. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Before we call the
Okay,
roll,
before you call the roll.
would you read this so graciously? Because it has such an important message.
Okay, let's see. Okay, this is the proclamation in support of Earth Hour, Homer Glen, March 23rd, 2013. Whereas our nation's use of energy continues to increase, resulting in detrimental effects on the world's climate, and whereas it has been estimated that turning non-essential lights out in America for 1 hour could save as much as 15% of the energy consumed on an average Saturday night, and whereas the energy savings will reduce carbon emissions into our air, preserve the natural resources used to produce this energy, set a positive precedent for the rest of the nation, and result in ongoing reduced costs for the village, taxpayers, and businesses of Homer Glen. And whereas the Village of Homer Glen has an outdoor lighting ordinance that establishes standards for outdoor lighting that eliminates off-site glare and minimizes light pollution. And whereas the Village of Homer Glen recognizes the night sky as a natural resource, along with the need to preserve the rural character, aesthetic value, and the unique quality of life of village residents by preserving and enhancing the ability to view the night sky. And whereas participation in Earth Hour will provide the residents of Homer Glen with insight into the impact of light pollution and allow them to witness firsthand the benefits of regulating outdoor lighting. Now there be it proclaimed by the President and Board of Trustees of the Village of Homer Glen supports the recognition of Earth Hour on Saturday, March 23rd, 2013 by recommending to the residents and businesses of Homer Glen to participate in turning out non-essential lights from 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. And that's the proclamation.
Thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee DeVivo.
Aye.
Trustee K. Janice.
Aye.
Trustee Nemec.
Aye.
Trustee Sabo.
Aye.
Trustee Yukich.
Aye.
Trustee Costa.
Motion carries. Okay, that concludes legislation and action items for tonight. The next portion of this meeting is a workshop item. Tonight's workshop item is a continuation of a discussion that occurred at the January 8th Village Board meeting. In response to the board's request at that meeting, a memo was sent out by staff on this topic highlighting the electronic attendance policies observed in other Illinois municipalities. Village Manager Davis has also incorporated some revised language into the previously drafted electronic attendance ordinance, which has been distributed to the board. I understand Manager Davis will lead us in a brief discussion on this topic. Cam, please give us your overview.
Thank you, Mayor. Yesterday, I know Heather distributed, and my apologies for it being so late from both her and I, but she distributed a packet of information from, I think, about 6 different communities. We could have actually given you a stack from 24 communities. But what we found out in getting copies from all these various communities to try to review and just to see how their programs differed from the one that we proposed, is that most of the communities utilized the Illinois Municipal League's model ordinance, which I think Village Attorney Horvath referenced on the initial presentation to the board, that he too had taken quite a bit of the language from the draft from that ordinance. So Kenilworth, Lincolnwood, and Lisle, Manhattan also to a little bit lesser extent, that are attached to the material that Heather distributed yesterday, they all have basically the Illinois Municipal League's model ordinance. The one from Naperville is kind of interesting. It's just a couple paragraphs long. It's very, very simple. It fits in with their village board operating procedures. One of the reasons why I think it's very short and succinct is that it actually was adopted quite a while ago, back in 2004, before the Illinois Municipal League's model ordinance actually came out. So that's probably one of the reasons why it says less, because it was done early and it's apparently working for them, so they've kept it the way it is. So I really could have given you, like I said, close to 20, probably 18 or so more ordinances, all of which would have been very similar to Kenilworth, Lincolnwood's, Lisle's, and Manhattan's, which is one of the reasons why we didn't. The package you got was thick enough. So it gives you a little bit of a taste for what other communities are offering. I highlighted in yellow for you some key components of the ordinances. Not that they're really unique from what ours is. One of the things that's most different is communities have different periods of time that you are required to notify the village clerk or whomever they have indicated that you need to notify in order for electronic attendance. So you'll see all over the board. Some communities are a day. One community, which isn't in the stack, was a week. Some are a matter of hours. So that seems to be all over the board, probably just based upon local preferences of the village board. But other than that, the requirements of what you can attend a meeting for electronically is written, it's in state statute. So that's similar in every single policy, recent policy that you see adopted. And it is the same in ours. So what I did was I actually went back and read through the comments that were made on the 8th by all the trustees on the first draft that was considered. I also looked back at my notes from the committee discussion. And what I did is I went into the draft ordinance and I made some additions to it. I don't think there's any subtraction, but there are some additions. And I'm going to skip forward to one of the most important ones. I know this is hard to read up there. The board has, has a copy that's a little bit easier to read. And this is unique to us. We have this unique challenge of having a village board room that we probably will not be in long term, that isn't set up electronically to facilitate electronic attendance to the extent that a Naperville or some of these other communities do. I know that Trustee Nemec had expressed a concern about the village board looking at this policy regularly to make sure that it is changed when we do in fact have the capabilities to handle electronic attendance more regularly and more effectively at a village board meeting. So this addition that I'm suggesting is very unique to our ordinance. You won't see it in any other ordinance. And that is the one on the bottom that says, this electronic attendance policy shall be reviewed by the corporate authorities annually in the month of May to update the policy specifically regarding the availability and usability of electronic equipment. This will appear, if you approve it, this will appear on the master schedule that the codifiers are putting together that show all these different dates and months that we have, that the corporate authorities have to take action. This is kind of along the lines, if we were doing an SOP as opposed to an ordinance, you look at those SOPs annually, and this is kind of along the lines of what you do for SOPs. This attendance policy actually has to be done in ordinance form. It can't be done in SOP form. So I added this paragraph to ensure that this policy is updated on at least an annual basis, and when we have better capabilities, that the board is able to change the policy and include the village board in the electronic attendance at actual village board meetings. So that is probably the biggest change. I'd be happy to, Mayor, I don't know if you want to deal with these on a one-by-one basis, or if you just want me to talk about all the suggestions and then go from there in terms of questions. What would you like?
Why don't you go through your
Okay.
presentation, then we can hear it all.
That's the one that I thought was the most important, so I skipped forward to that one. So let me go back to the start here. This first one, and I think there are 3 in total, is an addition to the policy that makes it very, very clear that the village board members can attend executive session by electronic means. This was also another concern that was raised the first time the village board discussed it. So there are actually, I think, 2 or 3 places in the proposed policy where this comes up. Attorney Horvath is comfortable with this language, and so this would allow board members to attend executive session meetings. This one is also, this is, I believe, on page, is this, for the pages, page 4. This one is also about executive session. This one is actually some clarified language that we saw in a number of the municipal ordinances that we really liked, and I'll just read it out loud. It says, "The speech of a member attending electronically shall be amplified in such a manner that it shall be generally audible to members of the corporate authorities and the public who are physically present at the meeting. Also, any video image of a member attending electronically shall be projected in such a manner that the member's video image shall be generally visible and audible to members of the corporate authorities and the public who are physically present at the meeting." You see this in a lot of the municipal policies, including the ones that we didn't give you copies of because they're similar. And so we thought it probably had some important, it's probably an important addition to the policy. So that's why we're suggesting that. And finally, on this page, almost all of the policies have, for the minute's sake, have the minute recorder reflecting the reasons for the member's attendance electronically. It can only be one of the 3 reasons, so you know it in advance because they let you know in advance. So the minutes should reflect that. And it should also reflect, obviously, that there was no objection to the person attending electronically, and the electronic means by which the person was attending. So trustee blank attended by phone, or a committee member blank attended through the internet. So it should just mention that in the policy. You see this very commonly in a lot of the municipal policies, so I added it here on page 4. On page 5, again, is a sentence that's required. So to make it very clear that the corporate authority members, the village board members, can attend executive session through electronic means. Oop. And then I think this is the one that I already went over, which basically says the policy will be reviewed annually and updated as the village board so desires. On the sheet that's required to be filled out, there had to be a sentence that added village board members for executive session, and that's what that particular addition is. Other than that, there's no other proposed additions from me. Mayor, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and of course the village board can discuss it amongst themselves.
Sure. I like the way you put it together. I like the fact that the attorney's comfortable with it. I think everybody pretty much knows my opinion of non-attendance, voting, and I think the meeting and the whole situation can become very sloppy, very quick. I think if you take a position as an elected official, you should be here. That's my opinion on it, and I've made it very clear, so I don't really need to reiterate it. And with that being said, I open it up to the floor. Trustee Sabo?
Yeah, in regard to a member being absent meeting after meeting, I don't think that's going to happen because the board wouldn't allow it. I think they have to approve it, and let's say they have to approve it. So the question that I did have was on page 3. And that is B1. And it says the member shall notify the village clerk at least 2 business days. And then it refers to C, the member cannot attend because of family or other emergency. An emergency may happen before 2 days are over.
Right.
So,
Well, I think that's a very valid point. There are more conservative time requirements. We saw those in other communities, definitively.
4 days usually.
Yeah, we've seen more conservative. We've also seen much less conservative. So that 2-hour number, or 2 business days actually, is a number that staff originally suggested. It's totally debatable. We thought that, it would be, because it's sometimes hard to do things at the last minute, that 2 days would give us enough time to make sure that we didn't have to do anything last minute. Quite frankly, I think if we had 24-hour notice, we could, I don't see that as being a problem. So, if you would like to look at that and possibly shorten it, I think we could still achieve it. But I'm obviously, the farther out it goes, the more comfortable I am from an administrative standpoint, obviously.
well, if it were to be within, I know there was one within 1 hour, wasn't there one?
Right, there are some much less
Yeah,
strict.
well,
Yeah.
that would be kind of hard, especially if we have to set up equipment that's not in place
Right.
every time.
Right.
But if we were going to consider changing it to 24 hours, I think then it should be put in there, so.
Yeah. From a staff perspective, I think we could achieve 24 hours. Obviously, if that became a problem, I would come back to the village board and tell you it was a problem, and you could deal with it at that point. There's no magic to the 2 business days, other than the farther out it is, the easier it is to administer.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to address the first point that you made. Remind me what it was.
The point was that meeting after meeting, a person who
Right.
attends
Right.
electronic, it won't happen because the
Right.
board has to approve.
Right. So at my conferences last week, I used it as a good opportunity because I had already had a chance to read through a lot of the highlights that Heather gave me from many communities. So I had an opportunity to talk to some of my colleagues, in particular the colleagues that are around us, about whether or not they had run into any problems. I probably talked to, on the conservative side, at least 5, maybe 6 or 7 colleagues directly, and only one of them expressed a problem. And that problem, I think, was a much bigger problem than just electronic attendance. I think there were some challenges bigger than that. So I don't foresee, based on my discussions with other colleagues, that abuse is a problem in surrounding communities.
Actually, I just want to correct one thing, though. The
Why
board,
don't you speak
the
in?
board doesn't approve. The way this ordinance is structured, the board must reject the request. So, I don't want you to misunderstand that.
No, but I meant the same thing that you said.
Okay, all right, just so you know.
Because, if they're going to reject it, that means they don't approve it, so.
Well, actually, this ordinance requires a 2/3 vote to reject a request. So, just so we're on the same page.
No, we are.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Kate Janis?
Yes, thank you. Just a couple comments. I really haven't had a chance much to review and read these documents. It looks very thorough. I appreciate that from staff and Cameron, yourself. I'd like to have a chance to review it further. The little bit of review I did have in the past when this topic was first brought up, it arised several questions. One is, we understand that eye contact with the public is the best forms of interaction. We have to understand that. Face-to-face is the most effective. But it cannot be a matter of convenience to board members or to committee members. There has to be some, yes, leeway for personal issues, but also there has to be some recognition to our community and to the people that we're sitting in our seats representing on being here, being in public, and back to the word interacting with in conversation. So there has to be some type of protocol that's out of, not protocol, but regulations, rules, however you want to put it, that is pretty much part of the ordinance if we do go ahead and put this forward, such as length of time, how many days a year, and the frequency of it. And I think at this point in time, we're going down a path that we're not ready to yet face with our equipment obligations. We understand that phones seem to work fine, and how many times do we drop phone calls every day on our cell phones, or phone interruptions, or busy signals, or what have you? I just think we're going down in an avenue that, as a young village as we are, that we're not quite ready for, in a facility that's not, well, I want to say not equipped for it, nor should we be prepared to spend and outlay money to facilitate this motion.
Okay. Anybody else want to weigh in?
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Nemec?
we've got two issues that we're talking about here. One is the ordinance, the implementation of the ordinance. I don't think this is, okay. And the other is the policy, whether or not this board feels that electronic attendance is an appropriate policy that we want to put together. So I'd like to really address two things. First, I'm going to start with the implementation of the ordinance, because I think that's the easier piece to talk about. And I really appreciate the fact that it was modified so that board members can attend in an executive session, because when the ordinance was presented, the reason for excluding board members was stated to be because this room was not equipped to handle electronic attendance. It wasn't stated that there was a disagreement about whether or not board members should be able to attend electronically. So the fact that we've amended this ordinance to allow for electronic attendance in executive session, in particular in the mayor's office where we attend it, I think is appropriate. I do, however, have concerns that we've allowed for committees who meet in this room to have electronic attendance. So if we are saying this room is the problem, then we need to state in this ordinance that any committee that meets in this room cannot have electronic attendance. Let's at least be consistent with it. And I also think that the implementation of the policy, which by state statute really does restrict when and how it can be used. And it's not a matter of convenience. It's a matter of, need. So I want to state that. That's the implementation piece of it. I think the 2 days are fine. I think there was a phrase in there that talked about unless impractical. And that can then be a fail-safe in case there is an emergency. Now, I want to talk about the policy piece. In my opinion, when we are elected to represent our citizens and when we're brought forward, we're asked to make certain that we weigh in on issues and and vote when we can. There are times, and I think that this policy, this ordinance states that, consistent with state law, in which that may not be physically possible. And so there has been, because we do live in a century in which we can use technology, we have modifications. We have, as Cam said, over 20 communities that have adopted this, and they've adopted it for a reason. We believe that we want to serve, and there's a commitment to accepting a position and being representative. So I think that saying that we're too young, or that you need to have eye contact, or that if you're voted you need to have, be sitting right here, is a little archaic. And I think that there is there's a self-guidance in here that protects us from it being abused. And I think that, so in my opinion, if we're talking about policy, I support us providing for electronic attendance. And that's why I want to divide this between a policy discussion that we as a board can decide we want to move forward with this or not, and then the implementation piece of how the ordinance is structured.
I thoroughly understand there's two issues here. One is the ability to have technology to support what we're talking about. The other issue is the strict policy question. I don't know if all of you know it, but I was watching CNN this morning about 5 o'clock in the morning. Yahoo's president, mayor, tells Yahoo staffers, no working at home. I believe in that. You want to be a trustee? Be here. Bank America, same thing. No more staying at home, getting paid. So.
And I'd like to address something here, if I may. Archaic as it may, but the old-fashioned principles of communication face-to-face, I think, still need to apply. I'm not saying there would be instances or occasions where a trustee is unavailable to attend a meeting for various reasons. I think we all could come up with some reasons, but that's what I'm talking about. We, as a community, if we proceed down this path for electronic attendance, whether it be for committee or for the full board or for all, whether in this room or in the mayor's room, we need to have a standard, strict standard that needs to be applied and not a loosely worded standard. And I will state, I have not read this in full. It looks very detailed. I have not had an opportunity today to read it since arriving at the Village Hall this afternoon. So that's my stance on that at this point in time until I have further reviewed it. And this is a workshop, and I do have my opinion.
Does anybody have any comments? Trustee Sabo?
I don't look at this piece, this draft, as an opportunity to abuse. Not any one of us or in the future would abuse, take advantage of technology in this century or last. I look at it as an opportunity to serve when it is inconvenient to be here, for many reasons as stated in here. And this board would know when others were taking advantage and trying to abuse because they didn't want to be here. Now, anybody that doesn't want to be here shouldn't be an elected official, and it's very obvious then to residents that they are not responsible. This is not the case with this board, and I don't think this is the case in the future. It is an opportunity to serve.
Trustee Yukich?
And Mayor, I do understand exactly what you're saying. If you're going to be a trustee, you should be here. But there are extenuating circumstances. It could be sickness, could be that your vacation just happened, especially if you get a committee of the whole that you pull up at the last minute because we have to make a decision. And I would think that if that trustee or the mayor wanted to be involved in it, it would be nice that they were there. You got to figure, if they are away somewhere or they're handling someone and they want to take the time out to be able to sit in front of a computer and have it put up on the screen, they are in involvement with the village. It's, and I can also see if it's constant, well, then there's an issue. But I think that it should be approved if it's on an individual basis. I'm not saying it should be blanket to wherever they want to not show up, they can get on the camera. But I think that it would be nice to, if it was something very important and you had, every one of us have an interest in this village, but you're trying to explain to the residents, to the businesses, whatever the case may be. I think there should be exceptions to the rule. It shouldn't be abused, but like I said, on an individual basis. I mean, because the technology is there. I mean, you can get on a computer, they can hook it up there, it can go up there, everyone can see them, they can see everyone that's out here, and you still can basically have a meeting, and basically you are here. So it's just an idea.
Right, and Mary put it good. You know, there's two different issues here, a technological issue and a policy issue. And I agree with that 100%, and you know exactly how I feel on policy. You want to be a trustee, you be here. If you have an important issue that is coming forward in the agenda, you should arrange with the village manager and other trustees to have it worked out that you will be able to attend it.
Okay.
That's my opinion, and everybody has an opinion, so that's what we're discussing here tonight. Anybody else have anything they'd like to enter into the record?
And to that point, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to state that, you know, every one of us trustees is a chairman, co-chairman of a committee. And when there is important issues that we're bringing forward from our committee, you know, we do time it out, we do talk to the village manager, we do talk to staff. If there's something comes up, then we recognize that. We need to recognize that. We also, after being elected and duly sworn in, things could change also to where I end up getting a job. Don't laugh. But in my job requires me to be out of state every other Tuesday. It's for business. I'm here 6 days a week, but every other Tuesday I have to be out of town. That's boss imposed. So I won't be here for any meetings in 12 months. But I was sworn in. I was elected. So what do we do then? It's business-wise. Think about this. Think about the future. Not today, not this current trustees and the board elected. Think about the future. Ordinances have to stand the test of time.
But that you're going to an extreme, too.
Well, guess what? Extremes don't happen?
Well, they do happen. But at the same token, like Trustee Sabo said, we have to approve it. If it's something that you're going to be gone every single solitary Tuesday, then guess what? Then we're not going to approve it.
But, you know, and this is more of a question for an attorney versus, you know, me answering it. You're setting guidelines that say this is an acceptable practice if I fall within these guidelines. And then all of a sudden trustees, based upon a vote, how the vote may shake out, how it's being discussed and what have you, they may decide not to allow you to participate.
Yes, you're right.
That's where you start getting goofy. Not you, I mean the whole rule of the situation. You can control the direction of the board by whether or not you allow somebody to participate or not participate, which I think is where this slippery slope begins, and we don't need it. If you want to be an elected official, be here. But go ahead.
Jim, it goes back to what you said before. If here, you've got some property outside, I've got some property outside, but I mean, forget vacation-wise or enjoyment-wise, you know, your parents are down in Florida. If one of them got sick, I wouldn't expect you to be here. I'd expect you to be there with them. But at the same token, if you wanted to join a meeting, I'd have no issue with it. I would understand exactly what you are going through at this time, and you should have that time. I mean, the one thing that everyone's got to remember, when you were elected as an official, your life didn't end. You still have a life. So, I mean, if something did come up, it's an extenuating circumstance that should be accepted.
How about they're sick for a year? My dad's been sick for 2 years.
Okay.
If I went and had to be in another location, what am I supposed to do? Run meetings as the mayor from Florida? I mean, no. The fact of the matter is, I think that's wrong.
Well, I think that if it came down to that, it would be as simple as you're not the only child. So there could be someone else that could take care of them and help out every once in a while. And I'm sure you'd want to get away from it for a little while, too. It's extenuating circumstances. We're blowing this out of proportion, and we shouldn't be doing that. This is an exception to the rule, and it's not saying that we're not voting on anything right now. This is just what...
It's a discussion.
Right. So, I mean, all it is just... There are exceptions to the rule, no matter what. There are exceptions to the rule. If someone's abusing it, that's not an exception to the rule. That's wrong. And then you step up to the plate and you do something about it. I don't think there's one person on this board that would take advantage of the situation in the first place. And I don't think anyone that got into this would take advantage of it, because this is just kind of like my own opinion here. I didn't run for this just to say, hey, I'm a trustee. I ran for this because of the concern that you do have for the village and for the residents and for yourself. So, like I said, I don't think this should be blown out of proportion. I think this is something as simple as there are extenuating circumstances that we should take into consideration.
Thank you.
Mayor, one thing, just
ahead,
the
Cam.
goal. So the goal for tonight is to work towards a consensus. And I have one big item that I need to get your feedback on that Trustee Nemec brought up earlier. I'll get to that in just a second. I would, when I have my conversations with my colleagues about this, typically you can kind of look to other communities who have had something like this in place for a while to see if there's any things that are going to trip you up. And literally, except for that one instance, which apparently was a much bigger issue, nobody said that they saw any abuse. And in this community where we have such dedicated public servants, and you guys know that, and people know how much time you put in, and I see it obviously, and the committee members too. We have a lot. There's some committee members that miss, but most of our committee members are completely dedicated here every meeting, yada yada yada. I really don't see, from an administrative standpoint, I don't see abuse coming down the pike. But from getting back to that administrative side, Trustee Nemec raised this issue. There is kind of a discussion about whether or not, we have a lot of committees that meet in the mayor's office, and we have some committees that have traditionally just met here, and then some committees that have met in both of them, depending on what's going on. I think Trustee Sabo's committee has met in the mayor's office occasionally. They usually meet in here. Public Services and Safety always meets in here. Trustee Nemec's task force usually meets in the mayor's office. Administration and Finance meets in the mayor's office. The mayor's office is not a problem. We can connect internet, we can connect telephone. It's a small room. We typically don't have a lot of people at those meetings except for committee meetings, committee members. So communication and setting that all up is very easy. The one problem that the two problems that we have are the village board in this room and probably Public Services and Safety in this room. Because this room is just kind of, it doesn't lend itself to electronic communication right now. So Trustee Nemec's comment earlier about should this be room-based, because clearly Trustee Sabo could move all of her meetings into the mayor's office, more comfortable chairs, and she's had a couple meetings in there. So we could probably, I do need feedback on that. I'm glad that you brought it up, Mary, because maybe, should this be a room-based situation or, now, having said that, when Trustee Sabo meets here, in this I've been to a meeting or two, it is a small group. They get out the tables. They maybe have a couple people in the audience, but typically it's the dedicated committee members. Clearly you can bring a phone over. You do internet pretty easily. It's taking this room and it downsizes to a small square. Public Services and Safety is more challenging because they sit at the dais like you do. And so that would be probably the most challenging committee to deal with. So, long story short, room-based. That's what I really need feedback on, because this is not room-based. So if I bring this back to you in the form that it's currently in, we probably are going to have a problem with Public Services and Safety. Trustee Sabo can, like I said, if she wants to, she can move into the mayor's office. Definitively, she could move into the mayor's office when you actually have someone who needs to attend electronically. Because your agenda just needs to say Village Hall. Say Village Hall.
I have if I may interject real quickly, I have a real problem with regularly conducting meetings in a small room that's not open to the public except in theory as opposed to in reality, for the convenience of someone who wants to attend a meeting electronically. I think we're going to see Open Meetings Act violations by concerned citizens. I personally would have a difficult time defending it on the theory that, well, we have this small little room just because certain people need to attend by their telephone or video or what have you. If you're going to hook up a room for electronic attendance, the room should be one that is similar to this, where the board meets and is accessible to the public, not just the public that can walk and is mobile, but is ADA accessible and has facilities to accommodate everyone. So I would be really careful about taking it into a small, confined area, because I think we're opening ourselves to an open meetings beat.
I appreciate that feedback, just so you know, because I know you come to the board meetings, but not a lot of the committee meetings. The door is always open. There are signs directing people to the
understand
mayor's
that.
office, and it's completely open, because we have a lot of our meetings in the mayor's office. So we have
understand that.
traditionally. So I don't think we have to worry about Open Meetings Act violations. In there,
I
because-
think we have a problem waiting to happen if we start to do this to accommodate individuals who do not want to attend a meeting or cannot attend a meeting for whatever reason. I state that. I'll also tell this board, we represent, I believe it's 12 or 13 communities, and we counsel against electronic attendance because of the problems that we see coming down the road as it becomes more and more popular for individuals to claim violations of the Open Meetings Act and/or the Freedom of Information Act. And so I'm very, very concerned about this. So I'm saying that if we're going to do it at all, do it in this room, but don't, or in a room similar to this, but don't do it in a room confined to a small space where you can't have full public participation regardless of the number of people that want to be there.
Okay, you're not saying, though, because we've traditionally held a lot of meetings in the mayor's office that are completely open to the public. You're not saying that that has been working for years, and
I understand that,
Yeah.
but I'm saying the more public and the more open the venue, the easier it is to defend or to say we're complying with Open Meetings Act. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, what I get from what Carrie's saying here is you're creating an ordinance specifically for that reason. Right now, we use the mayor's office as a convenience to committees and what have you. We're not creating an ordinance to specifically address this electronic hookup. I agree with the village attorney, and I think we're buying ourselves a bunch of trouble. And I go back to saying, you want to be a trustee, be here. Trustee Nemec?
Mr. Mayor, I will go back to what I said several weeks ago when I suggested that the ordinance not exclude any particular bodies, but put in here when the technology is adequate and available as to making it room-specific. I said that before. And when I talk about being consistent, we don't have enough, we have too many meetings to always have it in this room. If we did, we'd be meeting till 3 in the morning sometimes. So we have to use the other room. And it is open and it is accessible. So if this room is not have the technology to create for the speech of a member attending to be amplified in a manner that shall be generally audible to members of the corporate authorities, then electronic attendance would not be possible. I think we've got that in here. So I disagree with that, and I think you can't take a correlation about one company that is deciding that they have problems with employees working from home when the last labor statistics came out that a good number of almost 25% of employees work from home at one point or another. So I think that, I think you separate the issue from what it is we're talking about here is that there has to be a good, compelling reason. It's statute, by statute, it's defined. It's not to be abused. If this body thinks that it's being abused, there is a way in which this body can stop that. And I think I think the safeguards are in there. So
So you're comfortable with the language, because you had mentioned the room, but I think the language is okay. If we can't do it electronically for public services and safety as an example, and they need to meet in this room because of their size and stuff, then it just doesn't happen for that committee.
Well, but my point is, if by us taking the village board meeting to just an executive session,
Right.
okay, that goes a little bit to what Carrie was talking about, is that means the village board can have electronic attendance in a small room, but can't have in the larger room. And I think that if we make it to what is appropriate based on adequate technology, then it doesn't matter if the village board has electronic attendance policy in executive session or the full board, because what we're talking about here is whether or not it's adequate. And I think that's the policy piece that we have to be comfortable with.
Well, where I can go with this one is that I was talking with one of the trustees down at the end here, Trustee Costa, as I walked in tonight, and there was a lot of information that he got today that he would like to look through. I hear from Trustee K. Janis, he would like to go through some more information. I hear from the village attorney his concerns about legal issues that may arise as a result of the Open Meetings Act. So I suggest that if you have any questions as we try to decide if this is going to be a policy that we're going to move forward with or not move forward with it, I would say contact the village manager, who will forward the questions to the village attorney, read up on it, ask other communities if you want to make calls around. We'll bring this forward at another meeting. Maybe we have to have another workshop on it, because this is a big policy question. I mean, you know, everybody has their opinion, and it's going to reshape how meetings are held here in Homer Glen. If you're not going to have to be here, I guarantee you, there's going to be vacant seats here. I can't tell you how often, but it's going to happen, and I am not a proponent of it. So how about we take it to what I said, have your questions go to the village manager, he can coordinate with the village attorney, read up on other communities, and like we were talking earlier, Mike, you got a lot of information right before the meeting.
Yep.
So,
Thank you.
does anybody else have any more comments on that? Okay, Trustee Sabo.
I just had a comment in general about location of meetings. I believe that a meeting should be held in this room unless there's a conflict. Now, sometimes the Plan Commission meets on the same night that the Environment Committee meets, and the Environment Committee just goes in the mayor's office. But other than that, I think that every meeting, whenever possible, should be held in this room. It makes it all of us more available, it makes the knowledge more available, it makes the public more available. If they walk in here, they don't see anybody in here. They don't know where the meeting is. And they don't feel comfortable walking back in there.
Okay, are there any further comments?
I agree.
Trustee Neiman?
I also think that there's not a single person on this board, or probably any other boards that I know, that would rather attend virtually if they have the option and the ability to attend in person. So this is set for the situations that cannot be avoided, because it is not as easy to do it as it is in person. And so I for one, and you know my circumstance, I took a job 1.5 years ago out of state. Now, I negotiated being here when I needed to be here as part of my contract, and because I prefer to be here. There are times in which I travel that I can't be here, and so I'm not able to participate or give my opinion. But that's work related, so it's not a choice. So I just think that this is the exception. I think, Trustee, you could set it right. We're blowing this out of proportion. We're trying to make it something that it's not, and I think it can be a simple policy that's regulated by this board.
Okay, thank you. I thoroughly understand what you're saying, Mary. I thoroughly disagree. I have a place in Florida. I've had a place in Colorado, and I make it here. I've missed 2 meetings in 6 years. So that's how I feel about it. Anyway, let's move it to the questions. Will go to the village manager, correspond with the village attorney, read up on it, and we'll bring it back possibly for another workshop. Okay, that would conclude the workshop item for tonight. Is there any old business? Okay. Under new business, I believe Trustee Costa had an item.
Yes, what I'm going to do, Mr. Mayor, is pass down
a proposal from an insurance company. Actually researched this on the internet, looking for an insurance company or brokerage that would offer Fest insurance mainly for weather-related incidences. In researching this, there was 3 or 4 different companies I went to, and there were more than one that actually referred you back to Dudson, which this is the brokerage house. So I contacted them direct through committee, of course. Now, keep in mind, this is strictly an FYI for us tonight. I just got this yesterday. This is going to go to the Fest committee to look at because the committee pretty much put this together, and I was just, the person that contacted them. So very briefly, this could come up with a lot of questions for you, and I'd like to just get this out to you, explain it very briefly. So if you do have any questions or come up with any questions in the next few weeks, you can get it to George or myself so we could ask the insurance company. So what they asked to do is first we went strictly weather-related, not cancellation. You can fit this policy probably dozens and dozens of ways. And what they want you to do is they want you to go day by day of the Fest, pick the hours that you want insurance coverage, and then pick how much rain or heat-related or snow, sleet, whatever you want. Give them parameters, and then they will give you a premium dollar amount for that day. For example, on the first page, we took it each day. You'll see there's different times on there, and it's based on the times that our Fest is running. Not necessarily, like the first day on the 20th, we're not there from 4 to 8. What I do is I picked a couple hours before the Fest starts and a couple hours into the Fest to be the hours that we want insured. So in the first one, we picked between 4 and 8 p.m., which is a 4-hour duration. I told them that we wanted to be insured for $25,000, and again, we just picked a dollar amount. You can go anywhere from $5,000 to $1 million on this policy per day. Of course, at $1 million policy, I don't think anybody could afford it, but they said it's depending on the size that you have. Then what we did is went into parameters. The accumulation is 1/10 of an inch down to a 1/2 an inch. You actually pick which one of those increments that you want to be insured for. So if we want to insure, for example, on June 20th, at 25 inches of rain with, a quarter of an inch of rain, within that 4-hour period of between 4 and 8 p.m., our premium for that day would be $2,002.50. If we say, okay, well, let's insure it for, if we get a 1/2 an inch of rain, then of course your premium for that day would be $1,080. Now, they use the weather station, they use Midway Airport. It's on the second page where they use. You do have the option of going to another weather station, but you have to put in an application for them to approve that. You can also get an independent weather observer that has to have credentials, and they have to approve that. You could just go forever on this. So just take a look at each one of those days. We gave them just some parameters to get prices on. You can pick 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, or all 4. You can go with different rain amounts for each day. You don't have to stay consistent, or nothing. We just wanted to see what Fest insurance would cost us. We can go a lesser amount if we're just trying to recoup costs. We can go a higher amount. And your premium is based on the information you give them and how much you want to be insured.
Has the township weighed in on this?
I just got it yesterday. I passed a copy on to Lindsay Soa.
Okay.
She's the township clerk and also co-chair of our committee, so that they can at least give it to their board also, just for information. The committee is going to meet, and we're going to go over all this and come up with a recommendation to both boards.
Good.
But,
Good.
Just by reading this, when we first started thinking about it, you hear all the horror stories of, well, this community had it. They had an inch of rain and they didn't get insurance coverage. Well, of course, because the inch of rain happened 3 hours before the event started, and although they had to wash out the event, they weren't covered. This is explicit.
Yeah. This is not new. We had a washout at Homer Harvest Days years ago.
2008.
And I think it's a good idea to have the insurance, but being a partner with the township's going to also have to, be on board with this and also sharing the cost of it. So.
Right. And again, this is just a starting point. We actually have, for example, with this company, and I have more information from another company that We'll probably send out and get a couple comparative, see what it costs. This is just a starting point. We can say $20,000 a day or $15,000 a day. You can go all the way to a half an inch of rain. We can squeeze down the hours. One thing to keep in mind is if we're insuring from, let's say on Saturday from 11 a.m. to 10, and the fest starts from noon to midnight, well, if the people are there and it starts raining, people are there, they may stay for a while. So we may look at it as a committee and make recommendations to the board saying, well, why don't we start at 8 in the morning until 1, thinking that, hey, if it's raining, people aren't even going to come there. That's what we're going to lose. So this is just something to start with. Come up with any questions. It's a little confusing. Give George and myself a call. We'll get the questions down that we can go back to the insurance company with and get them clarified before the committee makes a recommendation.
Okay, the way I'd like to see things go, the way they normally go, is if you, as you get information, if you can share it with the village manager can disperse it to everybody, so everybody's reading the same thing at the same time. So if anybody has a particular question that wants to call Mike or George, go ahead, but disseminate the information through the village manager, that way we all get it.
Right, not a problem. And one
Okay.
thing, if you look at page 2, just one more question, this is the one question I had, is how do you know, once it gets, let's say you pick a quarter inch of rain and you get .27, you automatically fall under your coverage. Well, how do you prove that? Right in their policy, it said there's no proof of loss required. So as soon as it hits the total rain that you call for in those hours, you don't have to show them that we lost 10,000 or 2,000. You automatically get paid the coverage for the premium that you are paying for.
Okay.
That I want a little better clarification, but still, that's what it's written.
Okay, thanks, Mike. All right, is there any other new business? Okay, then the next item is executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive sessions for the purpose of discussing executive session minutes, land acquisition, and potential litigation?
So moved.
First by, who is that? Trustee Nemec? Nobody wants an executive session tonight?
Second.
Second by Trustee DeVivo. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, we're going to take 5 minutes, and we're going to go into executive session. We'll be back then.